It's a week away from one of my key races, the Winchester Circuit Race. Hey cycling community, this is Steve Grusis, the Cycling Greek. I decided to go do a climbing workout with my teammate David. Now the reason for the climbing workout is that the circuit race, it's on a 4.5-mile circuit, has some flats in it, but it's littered with climbs, steep climbs. It's been at least half a year since Dave has been doing any type of long climbing. And so I'm going to go do my workout. It's going to involve going hard for a bit. I'm going to die off for a bit, and during that time where I'm dying off and recovering, Dave is going to come up, I'm going to ride a bit, and I'm going to do another interval. I didn't have a specific plan for my intervals, such as how long the intervals were going to be and the timing of them. Was there going to be a little bit of rest between, a lot of bit of rest, that type of thing? Will I be doing over-unders type of thing? I would just follow the terrain and do it by feel. I've done a lot of good work leading up to this, so I didn't need to do a lot of intervals. I would characterize what I did today as tweaking plus. This first interval was going to be a long one, about 11.5 minutes. My intent was to do a little over above threshold, but I never really looked at the power meter. I just went by feel. In the first 3 minutes or so, I spent just kind of ramping up. After that, I was in the zone and I just went for it. I ended up doing about 360 watts for 8+ minutes. It felt like I was in VO2 max, but when I look at the literature on VO2 max, it says VO2 max goes up to it goes from 106 to 120% of your FTP. And my 1 hour FTP is 275, which means the top end of my VO2 max is 325 watts. It's been about 4 months since I've done an FTP test. Now, in that FTP test, my FTP jumped something like 10 to 15 watts, which is pretty cool. Since that FTP was higher than what my FTP was last year, I kind of figured I topped out. Well, it looks like I'll be doing another test in about a month. So, while on one hand, seemingly my FTP is higher, and so that's pretty cool. On the other hand, that makes my workouts a lot tougher, especially those VO2 max over-unders. After David and I recovered, we spun for a bit, and I needed some time to recover after that effort. After I did, I was ready for a series of 1-minute max efforts. On this first one, I averaged just about 400 watts. On the second effort, I averaged 420 watts. I figured for a guy that's almost 67, that's pretty good. Keeping in mind today's parameter of go by feel, I feel I had enough. So with about 5 miles left of climbing to go, the first half in my 29 cog and the second half in my 26 cog for a little extra strength building. Once we were done, we descended down an 8-mile, 5.5% grade in which there is a slight headwind. Even with moderate spinning, it's hard to get above 35 miles an hour because of that headwind. Dave, who's starting the build portion of his off-season, his triathlon off-season, weighs about 180 pounds, and I weigh 163. Dave loves the super tuck. I don't super tuck. That makes it challenging for me if I want to stay on his wheel. I figure if I'm close enough, I'll be fine. What I did find during this ascent is that when he does go into the super tuck, I then have to apply a lot of power. So if you're looking at the insert in the upper left-hand corner with all the data, I'm ranging between 350 watts and 450 watts, and my cadence is going well above 100. What saved me from not being able to keep up with him is that he popped up. Let's look at the next super tuck. Okay, he goes down the super tuck. See my power? I think I'm fine, then I'm not. He starts to go. I now have to do over 400 watts and over 100 RPM just to be able to stay with him. I'm starting to burn. Thank goodness he pops up again. We were doing this during the first 4 miles of the descent. Again, he pops down. I'm doing okay. Now I got to put to a lot of power and a higher cadence. He's still staying down there. Maybe it's not as steep in this section because I'm still able to hang with him, but you know, I can tell my body's starting to burn. We did a few more of these, and then thank goodness it stopped. The good part is, this turned out to be a set of short, intense intervals. The last interval I did was on the final run in back to the cars. I pulled that threshold for about 8 minutes. It was a good day. I felt good after the ride. I did all the proper recovery stuff for the rest of the day. On Sunday, I'll probably do some sweet spot, take Monday off, ride Tuesday, Wednesday, take Thursday off, then go do some openers on Friday. Hope you enjoyed this video and you got something out of it. As always, remember, comment, like, subscribe. The Cycling Greek.